Hey everybody, welcome to our mini lesson today. We're going to do a very quick tutorial on just the basic setup for papers, specifically APA, since that's what we're using mostly here. But in general, how do you operate a word processing program? I'm going to be showing you on Microsoft Word because that is the industry standard, both in colleges and in the work world. If you are using Google Docs or another free version of Word, if you're using Office 365 fully online, some of the commands and some of the stuff will look a little bit different. But I would highly encourage you to make use of the help feature on whatever you're using. The other thing that I highly recommend is if you ever find yourself not knowing how to do something, Google it and look for a YouTube that will walk you through it. But for our purposes, for our class, this will cover the basics of what you need. So we're going to pull up Word and you're going to see a blank document in front of you. There's a couple of things with formatting for college papers, and this is true for MLA and APA. Both styles require you to use plain double spacing, and Microsoft Word has this weird habit of putting extra spaces between things if we don't tell it to do otherwise. So before I ever type anything, I'm actually going to click on the no spacing button. This will be somewhere in the ribbon on the home screen if you're using Word. If you're not using Word, it's probably not an issue. We we also need to switch to double spacing. So we're going to click. This is the spacing key for my version of Word. It's always going to be there somewhere. So again, this help feature, if you can't locate it, is a good idea. In most of your college classes, your teachers are going to expect you to use Times New Roman in 12-point font. And that's not the default in Word. Now you can set that as a default on your own home computer. And I highly recommend that you do because it's going to simplify things a lot for you. Because here's one it's going to simplify. We're going to insert the header, which in APA is just a page number. It's all you have to put up in the header. It does go at the top of the page and it goes on the right-hand side. And so we can format it. We don't need anything changed here. We are going to change the font, but that's something we have to do manually. So let's go ahead and click OK. And then I'm going to double click on it, go to the home screen, and do just what I did for the rest of the document. Change it to Times New Roman. Okay. I can double click or I can close the header and I'm ready to start. Now in APA, we do have a title page or a cover page. And what goes on that is the title is going to be in bold. And it's a good idea, even in double spacing, to kind of go down a couple of spaces so that this information is centered a little bit better. So we're going to bold the title, brilliant paper title goes here. We can use a subtitle. Don't just call it the name of the assignment. That's one of my little lessons here. A lot of people just want to call it whatever the assignment is titled. So I turned bold off. I'm going to tab down 3 more times, and then I'm going to have my identifying information. So first is your name. Let's do Mary Lamb today. Next is your department. In this particular case, you are taking an English class, so Department of English. And we are writing this for post-university. This is going to be for ENG 110. If you're in a different class, of course, in ENG 107. But this is the one that I do most. So put ENG 110. And then you have your instructor's name. My name is Jackie Pierce or Jacqueline Pierce. You can use my formal name if you want. And then you'll always have your due date. So I'm just going to use today's date. So March 1st, 2023. All right. When you go to the next line, you want to uncenter because, well, that's not entirely true. You are going to include the title again at the top of page 2, and it is going to be centered. So heck, let's stay centered. While I'm here, I'm going to control and copy that because I'm going to need it again at the top of page 2. I want to encourage you, instead of just hitting enter until you get to the top of page 2, to actually insert a page break. Now, again, it's going to look a little different depending on what word processing program you're using. But in the Apple version of Word, this is where it is. Under the insert menu, pages, and then page break. All right. I've already copied my title, so I'm going to just paste it. And then I'm going to go back to the regular margin. And this is where I'm going to type my essay. First lines of paragraphs are indented. Now, I don't have anything brilliant to say today, so I'm going to just put some gobbledygook in here as placeholder. So let's say I'm done with my first paragraph. I've written a brilliant introduction. This is great. My thesis statement is at the end. Now, with a lot of the assignments that you're doing in our class, you may only write 1 or 2 paragraphs. But in an essay, you're going to have many. So let's go ahead, and I'm just gonna put the same until we're 3 pages in or so. Okay. So now I'm ready to put my works cited, or sorry, my references page. This is an APA paper. So I'm going to undo my little indent, and I'm going to insert another page break. In an APA paper, we're going to need to center, again, come on, and the heading is bold, and it's called references. If you were writing this for an MLA paper, it would be called works cited. There's a lot of different uses for these kinds of bibliographies, but each of them have several rules that they are going to follow. In APA, we're going to be back on the regular margin, but now we're going to move the lower triangle so that we have a hanging indent. I'm going to type up my works, or my bibliography entries, my references entries, and many of these I'm going to have to figure out how to do using the tools available within the course, the APA documentation materials. There are also some good websites that will help you cite your sources. And most importantly, if you are using library sources, and we're going to go over that in a different tutorial, then you're going to get the citations directly from the source. And those are going to be done for you. One last thing that's true about all bibliographies: they have to be in alphabetical order. Now, I only have 3 sources listed here. I could just move O above S and I'm ready to go. But I want to show you a trick. When you want to alphabetize something, you can highlight the whole list and click on the sort button, click OK, and now it's in alphabetical order. Not as big of a deal if you only have 3, but if you have like 12 or 13, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So that is what APA formatting means for a paper. If you only had 2 paragraphs, as with some of our assignments, or 1 paragraph, that would appear on page 2, might go a little on to page 3, but for the most part, you're only going to have multiple pages if you have a full essay. But you will always have the cover page and the references page. Now, we're going to save this as a document. Now, it'll automatically title it for you, and I'm just going to leave it in my documents folder. If you wanted to put it somewhere special, you certainly could. Let's say you wanted to use a flash drive and you want to save everything on a flash drive, you can certainly do that. But I'm going to hit save. And then what's going to happen is when I go to turn in that assignment, I'm going to upload this document. Okay, so there's your first mini lesson on creating a paper in APA format.